name is Evan Manship with Mainstay Property Group, the Manship Foundation Midwest Cash Offer here in beautiful southern Broad Ripple, Indianapolis. I'm joined by my friend Nick Giulioni with Off Leash Investments, serial entrepreneur and flat out great guy. We're here with Brick by Brick, the non-podcast podcast. Want to talk to you about how Nick got to be really one of the most well-respected names in Indianapolis, and he's not even from here. So, Nick, take it away, man. Tell the people about Nick and the story.
I am so darn excited to be here. Thanks for inviting me. Thanks for letting me kind of talk a little bit about the history. Yeah, I'm not a Hoosier by birth. I'm a Hoosier by adoption, I guess, or by moving. And began investing out here in Indianapolis back in 2017. Got sick and tired of that corporate life. Got sick and tired of being tied to somebody else's evaluation of my performance, and so began buying out here. Did a turnkey, didn't go great, but started to find those value add opportunities, find the BRRRR opportunities, find the flips, find the portfolio acquisitions. I tripped, I fell about 1.5 million times. We can talk about that if that's the direction we want to go. Oh shoot, man. Yeah, we'll go down that path. And but eventually built up a portfolio of about 50 or 60 properties. And then moved out here in July of 2020. Our jobs had sent us home. I was living in the Bay Area at the time, and our jobs sent us home. And we said, screw it, let's move out here for 6 months and see what it's like. Get a little closer to the business. See if we can't grow this thing. And 4 years later, we're still here. We're still in love with it, and would definitely say we're Hoosiers at this point. And things are going well. I went full time in 2022. Began doing a lot more flipping. Began doing, you're well aware of this. Began doing quite a bit in the wedding space. I own a couple wedding venues now. And actually in 2023 started a construction company. I realized the contractors suck in general. And there needed to be somebody out here who was trying to do a better job and really trying to bring the professionalism of the retail guys and the volume of the investor and meet somewhere in the middle where you get that integrity without giving up too much on the price point. So it's been a fun little adventure. So what direction do you want to go with through that story?
Man, I don't know where to start. That's that's a blessing and a curse, I guess. But it's funny. I feel like a lot of businesses start, whether it's investing or wholesaling or flipping or contractors, construction, you name it, because something sucks and people want to solve a problem. So I think Nick is no shortage of that. I think it started for you said in 2017. I thought it was after that. 2017 because investing in the Bay Area sucked.
Oh my God.
So maybe start with that and kind of what made you say Indianapolis first and foremost, and then secondly moving the hell out here. So 2017, I was looking at all of these different podcasts, listening to them, watching all the YouTube videos, watching Bigger Pockets, and everybody and their mom was talking about Indianapolis. Like, it was the hot investing market, but it was the best decision I could have made. I was looking at those rent-to-value ratios, I was looking at the positive net migration, the diverse workforce. All of those things were really factors for wanting to invest out here in Indianapolis. And once you've got that core, once you've got that team established, getting that economy of scale has a whole lot of value, both from a property management, from a contractor, from an agent perspective. You're going to go wholesaler perspective. I was thinking exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Like, honestly, I come to you after having done a couple of deals. You're more likely to play ball with me on something to make something work versus, I'm just coming to you and say, hey, I need you to just lower your price for the first deal. You're much more likely to want to work with me. And so I began leaning in here and doing a whole lot more. Moving out here, that was not part of the plan. My wife, I remember, as we're driving into the city, she looked at me and she goes, 6 months and not a day longer.
From the airport, I can imagine.
No, not even from the airport. No, we were driving it. Like we
drove
from California.
That's the worst thing I ever heard.
But by comparison, California, here in Indianapolis, you get a stabilized asset. When I started back in 2017, the 1% deal was something that was totally achievable.
100%.
I wouldn't say that that's necessarily something that is super achievable in a well-maintained property today. Like, you're going to need to probably invest a little bit more, but I'd say 0.8% is something that's pretty achievable in a B-class asset, like a Beach Grove or something like that. It's front of mind because we might be buying one there right now. But in a stabilized situation, you might have a $200,000 asset that rents out for $1,600 a month, and you can do very, very well from that perspective. By comparison, the house we lived in Southern California, it was in Northern California at that point. It was a house that we were living in a shoebox. It was 1,200 square feet. And we were paying $4,000 a month to live there.
Man, where were you at in the Bay?
Santa Clara at that point in time, which isn't even like I would say in terms of the actual neighborhood grade, it would be very similar to like a Beach Grove or something like that. So it was safe, but not like, it wasn't fancy. Let's put it that way. $4,000 should buy you a lot more than we were getting.
Right.
And when we moved out, that place sold for over $1.2 million. So like, there's just no way, if that's the case, to make the
dog's breaking down the door here.
Yeah, there's no way to make the numbers make sense, and so that's why we invested out here. That's why we uprooted our family to come out here. It's because Indianapolis just makes sense from an investing perspective.
Yeah, and I think that I've heard the same thing from a lot of folks, and I'm trying to take it step by step for you folks listening. Like, wait, this guy started buying real estate from California in Indianapolis. First off, yes, you can do that, and it's very, very, very common to do that. And secondly, this guy had 50, 60 doors. And it lived 2,000 miles away from Indianapolis. Yes, and it's very, very common. I don't want to say easy to do. Certainly not an easy thing, but it's common. Nick is a hyper example of what's possible here. But that's something that's totally possible. And something we've done a lot with investors over the years. But I think once you get that first taste of holy shit, like the rent to value ratios here, like there's a lot of money to be made if you could make it a business instead of just a hobby, and it kind of throw some gas on the fire. Like, you can make some serious money.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, when I was talking about that house in Santa Clara, we were renting that from somebody, and it was one of those things where his mortgage was actually more than what we were paying in rent on a monthly basis. Here, I'm getting several $100s of cash flow per property on similar level of leverage to what he's talking about. I mean, who wouldn't prefer to get on $1.2 million, $10,000, $100,000 a month? Instead of $10,000. I try not to do public math, but
we'll bleep that one out too.
Yeah, perfect. But versus $4,000, you get 3x the return on your money for that same $1.2 million in real estate. It just makes sense. With that said, you have to have the right team. I think there are a lot of people who view contractors, they view handymen, they view property managers as cost centers. And I think that is one of the biggest mistakes that you can make if you're investing, especially from a distance. The 10%, the 12% that you're paying your property manager is the best money that you can spend, because one, you've got boots on the ground, you've got more people who are willing to help you and work with you. And then on top of that, you don't have to take the midnight calls, which you're not equipped to take anyway, because you are 2,000, 3,000 miles away. I know one guy that owns 50 properties and he lives out in Hawaii. Like, that time zone difference is just an absolute disaster. Good luck getting somebody on the phone if they're calling, when you happen to be asleep. So I highly recommend, if you're going to be doing it from a distance, build your team. Build that, what Bigger Pockets calls the core four. I think that you could probably extend that a little bit, but make sure that you've got those team members.
Yeah, and that's really great nuggets for folks, and like you said, especially out of state, but locally here just the same way. I mean, a lot of folks that tune in, that we work with, that our dispositions team is on the phone with daily, are new folks. How do I get started? What's the first step I should take to buy my first property? I'm not sure there's a great place to start as far as having a property manager locked in, or an agent, or a wholesaler, whatever, right away. But man, every one of those folks has significant importance to kind of further your business, and that's not a term that's used lightly. I think that every property is its own business within itself, and then your aggregate portfolio is the business of businesses. And to not treat every property that way is a catastrophic mistake. And to build people around, again, that's a business. Buying 123 Main Street is its own business, and you need certain. I'm not stealing your thunder. Frankly, I completely agree. You need certain vendors and certain players to effectuate that business, or else it collapses on itself. Aside from real estate, obviously there came a point where you're like, hey, let's just go get away. And COVID, it sounds like, was the domino that fell. Talk about that. What you guys were sent home. I know you guys were significant W-2 earners, and you said, screw it, we're going to go be Hoosier Hillbillies for a while, just to kind of dip your toes in and see if this could be a full-time thing?
God, no. No. We were not going to stay here. This was not going to be something that we were going to do. It actually, I remember the exact moment that I saw it shift in my wife's eyes. We were out on a hike, and we were like walking through.
Only married men know that, by the way. I think that's a very important thing to know. You will not know that look until you have a ring on your finger, and that is just the best. So continue, please.
We were walking around Hamilton County. For anybody who's not familiar, that's like the hat of Indianapolis. Absolutely incredible area. Like every city there is ranked in like the top 10 places to live in the entire country. So we're walking around, and we're like in the forest somewhere, and we end up on this new build community, and we're just walking around, and we see a for sale sign, and my wife goes, "How much is that house?" For a brand new build. And in that moment, I knew I had her. The truth of the matter is, though, that there were a variety of reasons why we moved out here. December 13th, 2019, I had a property manager go bad on me. And I took a hit in the teeth, and we're still in active litigation there in that entire situation. It was a terrible one. You guys can go look back on the out-of-state investors group if you want to see some really angry investors back in that time frame. And actually, I believe you guys were quite helpful during that time in getting information and stabilizing things. That happened, and there were all these situations that were happening on a per-property basis. When your property manager does act in a less than ethical way, the cleanup can take years to really clean up a portfolio. So we had that, and then immediately had COVID hit. And that was a really terrible situation. And for anybody who doesn't remember, the federal government basically said that people didn't have to pay rent for a little while. Now, there were a whole lot of caveats there, but we had badly trained tenants who then were basically told by the government that they couldn't be kicked out of their home. And so we,
in addition to a property manager that just walked with a significant sum of money,
6 digits for me personally.
Yep.
When you've got 50 or 60 doors, it's very easy for that to add up very quickly. And so when that happened, we were getting kicked in the teeth left and right. And so our opportunity to move out here was can we stabilize this thing? Can we get this thing right? And honestly, can we stop spending $4,000 a month and spend $1,000 a month on a mortgage? A little bit different from that perspective. And so that's how we got out here. Best decision I ever made. Anybody who's on the coast that's like thinking about it and can do it, I highly recommend testing it out. But it was a life-changing situation that allowed us to create a quality of life that wouldn't have been possible for the two of us, and then now our daughter here in the Indy state.
Man, that's a really neat thing. And I said in the last episode with Dustin, fear the man with no scars, because again, Dustin was in real estate back in banking in 06, 07, 08, got to see the whole meltdown. So now when he's having a conversation with people, it's like, bro, I've been there. I get it. Trust me, I've been there. Like, you want to talk about scars, man, walking with 6 digits of rental income.
Oh, yeah.
Getting kicked in the mouth from a COVID perspective.
Yep.
I mean, the whole thing. Hey, not only can we stop paying $4,000 a month for our shoebox, but also can we save what we thought was our retirement portfolio or investment portfolio, whatever it is. Like, man, that's some significant optimism, something only an entrepreneur can have. So,
or just absolutely being fearless is I think really what it comes down to. Yeah, just being silly enough to think that was a feasible opportunity.
I think there's in any entrepreneur, and again, the reason I use entrepreneur a little bit loosely is anyone that buys a property and runs a business is an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Now you can work in your business or on your business, and I think Nick saw that shift as well with, I have a couple rentals now. I have a massive portfolio. Now I'm going to move out there and be next to it so I can effectively manage my business. And now, kind of shifting gears into more of the wedding space, I'm super curious to have you share with the folks what opened your eyes to that opportunity.
Yeah, so complete accident. My entire life is just a bunch of accidents.
What about your daughter? Leave that out.
No. That one, that's the one thing in my life that might not have been. But number 2 maybe. But the wedding space was a completely weird opportunity. When people invest in real estate, there are 5 ways you make money. Obviously, there's cash flow. We all think about there's appreciation, there's loan pay down, there are tax benefits, and there's inflation hedging. I had an opportunity where a hedge fund came and offered me way too much money for a bunch of my properties. And I said, great, and this was right before the market cooled off in 2022. I timed it perfectly, again, totally by accident. And nice. I had all of this 1031 money. For anybody who's not familiar, that's the tax benefit that we're talking about. That I had to essentially go buy the same or more real estate from a dollars perspective than what I had just sold. And so I was looking at, I was going to reach out to every wholesaler, I was going to reach out to every agent and just buy up a bunch of single-family homes. And I was looking at the amount of work that was going to go into that. And because I had to go spend about $3 million top line. Not bottom line. I didn't have that much equity, but I did have to go spend quite a bit. And I was thinking just how much work that was going to be from a coordination perspective. And so one day I just went on Zillow and I just cranked up the minimum And I figured I would find a stabilized apartment complex that everybody else had passed on, but I just needed to park some capital, so that was going to be okay. And I came across the Wilds wedding venue. Absolutely incredible, beautiful, 125 acres. No offense, I believe it's the most beautiful wedding venue in all of Indiana, but we'll go head to head on this one a little bit later. I'm sure yours is beautiful.
I don't have 125 acres, so I can't say
it's the most beautiful 125 acre wedding venue in Indiana.
Beautiful.
All right, I can have that caveat. And it was just absolutely lovely, 2 homes. So I saw opportunities to change the valuation there. And what I was doing is I was converting so much of that equity that I built in the single family space into cash flow within the wedding space. For anybody who's not familiar, the rent to value ratios on wedding venues are a little bit better than what you get on a single family home. It's a lot more work though, a ton more work. But bought a $3 million wedding venue, a little bit more than that. We were generating about $800,000 a year, which again, there were other opportunities to change that and increase that a little bit. So I've got an incredible staff down there. Actually bought a second wedding venue, because once you get into the space, apparently your name gets on a list somewhere. All the wholesalers decide they're going to call you, and so that one ended up coming to me, and I was able to negotiate some seller financing on that sucker on a second failed wedding venue, and we're turning that one around. We just bought that one a little less than a year ago, and it's I've got, like I said, I've got the best staff in the world. I couldn't do it without them. I'm not allowed to talk to brides. That was the one condition my wife put on me when we bought the wedding venue. She's like, "You can do this. You're crazy, but like you can do it, but you may not talk to brides." And it's worked out pretty well so far.
Keep you as far away from the decision makers as possible. That checks out. I've been there.
Yeah.
It's something that Nick perpetually reminds me of is Nick's done a terrific job of just sniffing around, knowing the minimum amount, and saying, "Screw it, we're going to do this thing." And Nick's loosely used the word, "Well, it's an accident. My life's an accident. This is an accident." Say what you want, but Nick's gotten started a million different times in a million different ways. I wouldn't recommend someone who's blindly buy a wedding venue and move across the country. Step one.
That's a lie.
But I would highly recommend someone to start buying their first piece of real estate.
Yes.
And you don't know a property manager from Adam, some jerk from Indianapolis talking to you on the other side of the world, but you can get started. And at the end of the day, maybe it walks with your money, but you can have a house, and you can compartmentalize it, refacilitate it, reposition the thing to potentially make money farther down the road, and that will lead to 60 properties perhaps, which will lead to a wedding venue, which will lead to another construction company, which will lead to Lord knows what else. So Nick doesn't know it yet, I don't know it yet, but we're both mid-accident already, and we're kind of looking forward to the next time we get smacked on the mouth, because it's only a matter of time. So whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur, an aspiring investor, a combination of the two, getting started is the first step, hence the Brick by Brick podcast. So Nick, would you want to share with the folks maybe a way to get a hold of you? What's the best way to reach you on socials, email, whatever it is?
Yeah, best way to get in touch with me is actually email. I'm the worst millennial in the world. I technically am on social. You can find us on Off Leash Construction on Instagram. But the truth of the matter is, best way is through email, nick@offleashconstruction.com. Would love to help you guys out. Willing to help teach you guys how to not make many of the same mistakes I made. That's free. The construction does cost a little bit of money. But yeah, we'd love to help you guys out and continue turning Indianapolis into the most beautiful city here in the country.
Love that, man. Off Leash Investments, Mainstay Property Group, where mistakes are free. Buzz us anytime, guys. We'll see y'all next time at the Brick by Brick podcast here in beautiful Southern Broad Ripple. Take care.
Thanks, guys.